Hello, everyone. Yeah, I wanted to do a new little talk. I do these once in a while, and I haven't done it in a long while, actually. But this is a new subject I thought some of you might be interested in. It's why did I give up sculpture and drawing? In a way, these are some of the things that I've done, throughout my entire life. I've had a lot of pleasure drawing, and then lately, the last maybe 10 years, I just love sculpture. I was addicted to sculpture, and I was always joking about it, but in an unhealthy way. I loved it too much, and about 6 months ago, I said, "You got to stop. You got to stop all this sculpting and all this drawing." Because I needed to face what I really, truly, truly want to do is be a filmmaker, full time filmmaker. That's my goal. And I thought that these other things, which were also a lot of fun, were keeping me away from that. It's very easy to sculpt, and no one's gonna say, "Hey, Mahoney, you're not focusing on your dream. You're sculpting." People are like, "Hey, sculpture's fine." But I always said this, that I would give up sculpture and drawing in a heartbeat to direct film. And saying it is one thing, doing it is quite another. So about 6 months ago, I decided I'm not gonna be involved in any more Monster Palooza or CTN, or I'm just gonna start not doing these tables anymore, and just really focus on what I really, really feel like I need to do, and that's to work on this screenplay for the Zentropa film and focus on pre-production for that. And it's very easy to kind of put that stuff aside because it's so hard, and just to pick up the clay and sculpt a creature, and or go to a figure drawing class, And the only reason I sculpted creatures in the first place was concepts for future films. The only reason I learned how to draw when I was a teenager was so that I can draw things that would eventually turn into movies. I never expected things just to stay in the sketchbook and that's it, or on a gallery wall. That was never my never my intention, never. So I had to almost go cold turkey, like when you are trying to, kick a certain addiction. You have to stop for a certain amount of time and allow that addiction to release its hold on you. So I did that. I took all my sculpture supplies, all my sculptures, and put them in another space where it was very hard for me to get to them. And then I ended up putting away all my drawing supplies as well. So they were not around. So the only thing that was on my desk was a screenplay and a bunch of notes just staring at me. And then after a while, after a month of just working on the writing, it started to take hold. It wasn't as painful as it was. It was difficult, but it wasn't as painful. And then eventually that became what I did. That was my creative outlet, was working on the screenplay and then building props and stuff like that in relation to the movie. It became my thing that I do. And it started to increase. The amount of hours I would do per day started getting to be stronger and stronger. And I started to kind of forget about sculpture and forget about drawing. And I had this kind of feeling that came over me, like, oh my God, I'm actually doing what I've always wanted to do, what I've always dreamed of doing. I'm doing it. I'm finally doing it, And it's something that all of you who are listening might consider. Not that you want to give up art, but to think about, what do you really want to do? As a young person, of course, you want to draw and build your skills. But later on in life, you want to kind of face the fact of, what do you want to do with those skills? If it's drawing and you want to put your stuff in gallery walls, or do graphic novels, or work as a concept artist or an animator or something, that's great if that's what you want to do. But it's good to kind of face the music, as they say, and be honest with yourself and say, what do you really want to do? And at my age, I realized if I don't make a hard left turn right now, I will never do this. I will never have the energy to do this when I'm like 80 years old. It's impossible. I have to do it now. So, yeah, it's been 6 months now, working steadily. I think the script is done. I think I really like it a lot. It's much better than it was before. I'm not sure. They say, what draft is it? I don't know. Maybe 5, 6 drafts. It's just constantly being reworked. There is no first draft, second draft. It's just this constant reworking. And I've been working on this film project maybe for about 4 years now. I don't know. But it's finally taken hold. And, we have a production schedule and stuff like that. At least pre-production. So I feel great, and I think that's one thing, for all of you when you're doing your artwork or whatever you're doing, is if you can say, I feel great, then you're doing exactly what you should be doing. If you feel like, oh, this is fun, but what I really want to do is this thing over there, and this thing over there is really, really, really hard to do. Eventually you're going to need to face those things, and it is hard. And whenever you are dealing with something that you really want and yet your skill level isn't up to that level and your experience level isn't there, then you're going to have to just jump in anyway and kind of like learn as you go. And the learning curve is incredibly steep when it comes to some of these things, but I have to say, I'm incredibly happier now than I've ever been. And I think that's a really good sign. And it wasn't like I didn't enjoy the other stuff. I do. And I do art. I mean, I do have to draw storyboards, and I will sculpt a character for my film. But if it doesn't, if there's something that comes along that doesn't have anything to do with the film, or if it's not a demo I'm doing for my class, then I don't do any art at all besides the film, because there's so much that needs to be done. So much that needs to be done that it's kind of ridiculous for me to even think of doing anything but the film, just to try to get a foothold on things. So yeah, that's kind of like something I didn't, I'm always as a teacher saying, yeah, just do what you enjoy and have fun. It'll take you places. But at a certain point, you may need to at least monitor yourself and say, I'm enjoying this, but is it getting me to my ultimate goal? And if your ultimate goal is not exactly what you're doing, then either change your goal and say, no, I'm just going to have fun and I'm just going to do this and that's that. Or you're going to be like, okay, I need to put my toys away. I need to put in. For me, sculpture and clay was a toy. And it was a toy that I was playing with a little too long, and I needed to kind of put those toys away. And I'm so glad that I did. And I miss sculpture? Yes, of course I miss it, but not as much as I thought I would. I really am more. I would even move forward and say, like, if someone said you can never sculpt again if you want to work as a film director, I would say fine. Fine, let it go. I want to keep moving forward. So anyway, some food for thought for my listeners out there, and hopefully this is good news. At least what I'm trying to pass along is not like, oh, this is negative in any way. It's just letting you guys realize that you want to kind of like assess where you're at different times in your life and say to yourself, what did you really want to do? What do you really want to do? And then what do you need to do to get there? And sometimes it can be a little bit uncomfortable, painful, scary, risk-taking, all of it. But at least when you're old and gray, you can say, at least I tried. At least I tried. And that, I think, is enough for anyone. Because if you try and it didn't work out, you have no regrets. You tried it. And, for myself with this film project, I love every minute that I'm working on it. So if it reaches the big screen, which I hope it will, I'm determined to get it on the big screen. That's great. If not, if it stays on the small screen and it's just a story reel that I can show to friends and stuff like that and family, I'm willing to accept that because I'm enjoying every step. And the thing is, when you enjoy every step, you're going to take the next step anyway. You know what I mean? It's not like, even if the story reel was done, okay, I'm done. Let me start building some costumes. Okay, let me start, let me shoot a little tiny scene. One thing leads to another. You can't stop. And eventually it'll grow into something pretty cool, So anyway, that's it. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening. And I would recommend that, especially this is more for older artists, older people than really really young people. But the older listeners out there, give yourself a chance to assess where you're at and see if you need to take any turns in the road. All right, take care, everyone. Bye bye.